Hey everyone, welcome to Midnight Mystic Stories. I noticed a lot of you who are watching and enjoying the content aren't subscribed yet. If you love spine-chilling stories, creepy encounters, and unexplained mysteries, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. It really helps the channel grow and helps us keep bringing more of the content you love. And be sure to comment below where you are tuning in from. Thank you and enjoy the video. I swiped right, and there he was, Ethan, with his disarming smile and eyes that promised adventure. I could almost hear my heart doing a little happy dance as I read his bio, looking for someone to share late-night talks and stargazing. It sounded cheesy, but I was in the mood for a little romance. After a few days of chatting, we decided to meet at a quaint little cafe on the outskirts of town, a place I'd never heard of before called the Moonlit Nook. The name alone sent a tingle of excitement through me. I arrived early, the smell of coffee mingling with the scent of freshly baked pastries wafting through the air. The cafe had a whimsical charm, with fairy lights hanging from the ceiling and mismatched furniture that somehow worked together. I chose a cozy corner table by a window, the kind where I could watch the street as I waited. My mind raced with thoughts of what the date could bring. Was he as charming in person? Would we have that undeniable spark? As I sipped my latte, I noticed the way the shadows danced along the walls with the flickering candlelight. The atmosphere was perfect, but the longer I sat there, the more I felt a strange sense of unease creeping in. The cafe was nearly empty, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I glanced around, but the only other customer was an older man hunched over a newspaper at the far end. I shrugged it off. Maybe I was just nervous. Finally, the door swung open, and in walked Ethan. He looked even better in person, tall and athletic, his hair tousled just right. He spotted me and flashed that same disarming smile that had pulled me in online. I waved, and he made his way over, his confident stride making my heart race. We talked easily, the initial awkwardness melting away as we shared stories and laughter. I found myself drawn to his passion for astronomy. He spoke about constellations and celestial events with such enthusiasm that I could have listened to him for hours. I even shared my own childhood fascination with the stars, and he suggested that we go stargazing later that night. As the sun began to set, he suggested we take a drive to a nearby hilltop, known for its stunning views. I hesitated, the earlier unease creeping back into my mind, but the thrill of adventure soon overruled my instincts. We drove through winding roads, the trees closing in around us until the cafe lights faded into the distance. When we arrived at the hilltop, the air was crisp and cool. There was a small clearing with a perfect view of the sky, stars just beginning to twinkle into existence. Ethan laid out a blanket and pulled out a small telescope from the trunk of his car. I admired his preparedness, feeling a rush of excitement as he showed me how to use it. As I looked through the lens, the world around me faded, and I was lost in a universe of stars. I could hear Ethan's voice behind me, explaining the constellations, his words a comforting hum against the backdrop of the night. But as I turned to reply, I caught a glimpse of something in the trees. My heart raced as I noticed a shadow darting between the trunks, just beyond the clearing. Trying to shake it off, I focused on Ethan's words, but the feeling of being watched intensified. Every now and then, I'd sneak a glance into the darkness, but there was nothing there. Just the whisper of the wind and the rustle of leaves. The night wore on, and the stars began to blanket the sky. I felt entranced, but something gnawed at the back of my mind. The way Ethan's eyes glinted in the starlight felt almost predatory, a flicker of something darker hidden beneath his charming exterior. I brushed the thought aside, attributing it to the ambience of the night and my overactive imagination. Suddenly, he suggested we take a short walk to a nearby ledge for a better view. I hesitated, but the allure of adventure pulled me along. The path was narrow, flanked by dense trees that seemed to close in as we moved further away from the clearing. The shadows danced eerily around us, and my heart began to race again. As we reached the ledge, the view was breathtaking. The town below was a sea of lights, twinkling like stars scattered across a black canvas. But as I turned to share my awe with Ethan, I noticed a flicker of something in his eyes, a glint I hadn't seen before. It made me feel uneasy, like I was on the edge of a cliff, Not just literally, but emotionally. Before I could voice my thoughts, he moved closer, brushing my arm. I felt the heat radiating off him, but it didn't feel comforting. It felt suffocating. My instincts kicked in, and I took a step back, trying to create space between us. But he leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper as he spoke about the darkness being a canvas for the stars. I laughed nervously, trying to ease the tension, but he continued, his tone shifting. You know, some people are afraid of the dark. They don't understand that it's just a part of life. It hides the ugly truths. His words sent a chill down my spine, and I glanced over my shoulder, feeling the shadows closing in. I tried to laugh it off, but laughter felt hollow. I wanted to leave, to get back to the warmth of the cafe, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. The atmosphere shifted, and I was suddenly aware of how isolated we were, how far we had wandered from safety. Ethan took another step forward, and I could see something flickering in his eyes, a wildness that sent alarm bells ringing in my head. I turned to leave, my instinct screaming for me to run, but he caught my wrist, his grip surprisingly firm. Wait, he said, his voice low. I just want to show you something. The desperation in his tone shook me. I felt trapped, like prey caught in a predator's gaze. I pulled away, but he didn't let go. I yanked my arm free, adrenaline surging through me. I think I should really head back. The tension hung thick in the air as I turned to retreat, but suddenly, the sound of rustling leaves echoed behind me. My heart leaped into my throat as I spun around. A shape emerged from the shadows, a figure cloaked in darkness, eyes glinting like shards of glass. I gasped, stumbling back, but Ethan was already stepping in front of me, a strange, twisted smile on his face. Don't worry, it's just a friend, he said, but the way his voice dropped sent ice through my veins. As the figure stepped closer, the truth hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just a friend. It was a reflection of Ethan's darker side, a shadow made real. Panic surged through me, and I turned to run, the adrenaline pushing me forward. I sprinted back to the clearing, heart pounding, the shadows stretching and reaching behind me. I could hear Ethan's footsteps close behind, the laughter of something sinister echoing in my ears. The cafe's lights flickered in the distance, a beacon of safety that seemed miles away. As I ran, I could feel the darkness closing in, the figure looming behind, feeding off my fear. Finally, I burst into the clearing, gasping for breath. I turned to find Ethan right behind me, his face twisted with a mix of rage and amusement. I didn't stop to think. I ran towards my car, my hands shaking as I fumbled for my keys. The engine roared to life, and I peeled out of the parking lot, the cafe's lights fading behind me. My heart raced, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had escaped something far more terrifying than a bad day. But as I glanced in the rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of Ethan, standing at the edge of the clearing, the figure beside him merging seamlessly with the shadows. A chill ran down my spine as I realized that the darkness didn't just follow me. It had taken root in him, and I had stumbled into a game I never wanted to play. In that moment, I understood the truth. Sometimes, the scariest monsters aren't the ones lurking in the dark, but the ones who can charm their way into your heart. It started like any other night, me, half awake on the couch, scrolling through faces I'd never see again, looking for someone who didn't seem completely boring. That's when I saw her. Her name was Lena. Her profile was simple, a photo of her laughing at what looked like a beach bonfire, another of her holding a coffee cup, with a cat peeking over the rim, and one where she stood in front of a mural, arms crossed, wearing a leather jacket that looked like it had seen a few winters. No filters, no gym selfies, no dumb quotes about adventure. Just real. I swiped right. Match. We started talking, and it wasn't forced. No weird pickup lines, no asking for nudes. She liked old horror movies, rainy days, and making pasta from scratch. I told her I was into hiking and fixing up old bikes. She said that was cool. We talked for days, then a week. Then she asked to meet. I picked the place. A little Italian spot tucked between a laundromat and a closed-down bookstore downtown. Quiet, dim lights, red-checkered tablecloths. The kind of place that smells like garlic and memories. I got there early, ordered a soda, and tried not to look at my phone every 3 seconds. When she walked in, it was like the room got brighter. She looked exactly like her photos, maybe even better. Her hair was darker in person, curly and wild, and she had this tiny scar above her left eyebrow I hadn't noticed before. She smiled when she saw me, and I swear my chest did something weird, like it forgot how to hold my heart. We talked for 2 hours, like we'd known each other forever. She told me about growing up in a small town where everyone knew your business, about her mom who collected teacups, about how she once got lost in the woods for 6 hours when she was 12. I told her about my dad leaving, about the bike I rebuilt from scrap parts, about how I still sleep with the hallway light on because I've never shaken the fear of something being under the bed. She didn't laugh. She just nodded, like she got it. When the bill came, she reached for it, but I grabbed it first. She didn't argue, just said thanks with this soft look that made me feel like I'd done something important. We walked out together, the night air cool and thick with the smell of wet pavement. It had rained earlier. Street lights flickered on one by one down the block. She said she lived nearby, just a few blocks over. I offered to walk her. She said okay. We didn't touch, not even accidentally, but there was this current between us, like the air was charged. We passed an alley, narrow and shadowed, and I noticed her slow down a little. Her eyes darted in. I followed her gaze, but saw nothing. Just trash bags, a stray cat slinking away. She kept walking, but her shoulders stayed tight. Half a block later, she stopped in front of an old brick building with peeling paint and a broken buzzer panel. "This is me," she said. I nodded, suddenly awkward. I didn't want to say goodbye yet. I wanted to ask if I could see her again, if maybe we could go hiking this weekend, if she'd ever want to see my bike. But before I could say anything, she turned and looked at me, really looked. Her eyes were dark, almost black in the streetlight. "You seem safe," she said. Then quieter. "Do you want to come up?" My brain short-circuited. Of course I did. But something in her voice, flat, almost hollow, made me pause. Still, I smiled and said yes. Her apartment was on the 3rd floor. No elevator. The stairs creaked under our feet, each step echoing like a warning. The hallway was narrow, wallpaper peeling at the seams, a single bulb flickering at the end. Her door was scratched, numbers barely hanging on. Inside, it was clean but cold. The kind of clean that feels staged. White walls, black furniture, no photos, no books. A single lamp in the corner cast long shadows. The only sound was the hum of the fridge in the tiny kitchen. She offered me water. I took it, sipping slowly, while she sat across from me on the couch, hands folded in her lap. We talked some more, but it felt different now. Slower, like we were both waiting for something. Then she stood, walked to the window, and closed the blinds. All of them, one by one. The room went darker. She didn't turn on more lights. "You ever feel like someone's watching you?" she asked, still facing the window. I laughed, but it came out weak. "Only when I'm alone at night." She turned then. "I mean all the time. Like there's someone just outside your life, staring in, learning your routines, memorizing your face." I didn't know what to say. My skin felt too tight. I set the glass down, my fingers numb. "That's kinda heavy." She sat back down, closer this time. Her knee brushed mine. "I think I know who it is," she said. "I've seen him. Outside my window. Standing in the alley. Always wearing the same coat. Always just watching." My throat went dry. "Did you call the cops?" She shook her head. "No, because I think it's someone I know. Someone I let in." I stared at her. Her face was calm, but her eyes were wild, darting like she was seeing something behind me. I started to stand. Maybe I should go. She grabbed my wrist. Her grip was strong. "Wait, please. Just a little longer. I need to know if you're real." "What?" I tried to pull back, but she held on. "Because the last guy," she whispered. "He wasn't. He looked real. He talked real. But he wasn't. And when I let him up, he stayed." My pulse roared in my ears. "Lena, this isn't funny." "It's not a joke," she said, voice breaking. "He's still here. In the walls. I hear him. At night. Breathing. moving. And I think he's trying to become me. I yanked my arm free and bolted for the door. My hands fumbled with the knob. It wouldn't turn. Locked. I turned the deadbolt. Still nothing. I pounded on the wood. Let me out. She didn't move. Just sat there watching me. You're not leaving, she said. Not yet. I have to make sure. I have to know if you're him. I spun around. I'm not him. I'm not anyone. I just met you. She stood slowly. That's what they all say. I backed up until I hit the wall. My breath came fast and shallow. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. She walked toward me, calm, deliberate. I looked around for something, anything, a lamp, a knife, a phone. Nothing, just space and silence. Then she stopped. Her face changed. The intensity faded. She looked tired. I'm sorry, she said. I can't tell anymore. Every guy feels like him. Every date ends the same. I start to wonder if I'm still me. I didn't move. Who is him? She looked down. My ex. He used to live here. Before he disappeared. Before I found his phone in the wall behind the fridge. Before I started hearing footsteps when I was alone. I swallowed hard. You think he's still here? I know he is, she said. And I think he's in me now. Like he's taken over. Sometimes I say things I don't remember deciding to say. I do things I don't remember starting. And when I look in the mirror, it's not always me looking back. I didn't know what to believe. Fear, pity, confusion, all tangled together. I reached for the door again. This time it opened. I didn't look back. I ran down the stairs, out the building, down the street, until my lungs burned. I didn't stop until I was 3 blocks away, leaning against a bus stop, gasping. I told myself she was unstable, that she needed help, that it was a red flag I should have seen coming. I blocked her on the app the next day, changed my number a week later. But here's the thing. Last night, I woke up to the sound of the kitchen faucet running. I live alone. I checked. The handle was off, but water was dripping into the sink. And on the counter, next to the tap, was a single black button, the kind that goes on a coat. And today, when I passed a mirror in the hallway, I swear I saw my reflection blink a second after I did. I thought I knew dating. I mean, who hasn't swiped through 100 profiles, right? But nothing could prepare me for that night. Not the apps, not the late-night chats, and definitely not the guy who turned my world upside down. It all started with a simple message that popped up on my screen. Hey, I'm Jake. You seem interesting. Coffee this Friday. I was intrigued. Jake's picture showed a guy with tousled hair and a warm smile, but there was something deeper in his eyes, a hint of mischief that made me want to know more. As the week dragged on, I couldn't shake off the excitement of our potential first date. I vividly remember the weather that Friday. Overcast skies looming like a heavy curtain, making the world feel a bit too quiet. It was perfect for a little adventure. We agreed to meet at a cozy cafe tucked away from the main street, its faded brick walls and vintage decor giving it a charming but slightly eerie vibe. I arrived a few minutes early, my nerves buzzing like a live wire. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and freshly baked pastries, but it also had this underlying scent of something old, almost forgotten. Even though I was surrounded by the soft hum of conversation and coffee grinders, an unsettling silence wrapped around me like a fog. Jake arrived moments later, and my heart skipped a beat. He was even better looking in person, tall, athletic, with an easygoing demeanor that put me at ease. We chatted over steaming mugs, our conversation flowing easily as if we'd known each other for ages. But as the minutes turned into hours, I started noticing little things that felt off. For one, he asked a lot of questions about my childhood, my family, and my dreams. It felt like an interrogation at times, like he was piecing together a puzzle he didn't quite understand. I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was just genuinely interested. Yet, with every sip of my coffee, a creeping sensation clawed at my insides, whispering that something wasn't right. As we wrapped up our date, Jake suggested a walk. The cafe was situated near an old park, its trees gnarled and twisted, creating strange shapes against the darkening sky. I agreed, wanting to shake off the unease that had settled in my stomach. The park was nearly empty, shadows dancing beneath the flickering streetlights. Jake led the way, and I followed, trying to shake off the feeling that I was being drawn into a web I didn't fully understand. He talked about the park, how it used to be a vibrant place, filled with laughter and joy. But now, it seemed to carry a different kind of energy, one that was heavy and somber. I listened, half intrigued and half concerned, as he pointed out the old fountain in the center, its water still and dark, reflecting the dim light like a mirror to the past. As we walked further into the park, the air became thick with tension. Jake's demeanor shifted. He seemed less relaxed, his eyes darting around as if he was watching for something, or someone. My instincts kicked in, and I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I tried to brush it off as paranoia, but the unease was palpable. With each step, I could feel the weight of the trees pressing in, their branches stretching like skeletal fingers. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, drowning out the sounds of the night. We paused for a moment, standing by the fountain, the dark waters swirling ominously. Jake turned to me, a flash of something wild in his eyes, and I could see his smile didn't reach them. He leaned closer, and for a split second, I thought he might kiss me. But then he stepped back, his expression shifting to something more serious, almost predatory. "You know, this park has a history," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They say it's haunted by the spirits of those who've lost their way." I laughed nervously, trying to dismiss the chill creeping up my spine. "Come on, that's just a story." But as I spoke, I felt the atmosphere around us change, thickening like a fog. The shadows seemed to stretch and twist, almost alive, and I could swear I heard whispers echoing through the trees, murmuring secrets that shouldn't be spoken. Jake's gaze intensified, his smile fading into something darker. "You should be careful," he said, his voice low. "You never know what might be lurking in the dark." My heart raced as I took a step back, suddenly aware of how isolated we were. The park felt like a trap, and I was caught in it. I tried to shake off the feeling, but it clung to me like a cold sweat. I turned to leave, but Jake reached out, his hand brushing against my arm. It sent a jolt through me, a mix of thrill and dread. "Let's not rush. It's a beautiful night," he urged, his tone smooth, yet laced with an unsettling edge. I felt pinned in place, the darkness creeping in closer. I needed to get away. I took a deep breath and mustered the courage to speak. "I think I should head home." His expression changed in an instant. The warmth melted away, replaced by a cold, calculating look. His smile turned into a smirk that sent chills down my spine. But we were just starting to have fun. I took a step back, heart racing as I turned to leave. The path felt longer now, the shadows stretching out like claws trying to pull me back. I could hear my own breathing, frantic and loud, drowning out any semblance of calm. I didn't dare look back, but I could sense him behind me, the weight of his presence pressing down like a stone. Finally, I reached the edge of the park, the streetlights flickering to life, as if welcoming me back to reality. I glanced over my shoulder, and to my shock, Jake was gone. No trace of him in the shadows. Panic surged through me as I all but sprinted towards my car, my heart pounding in my ears. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had escaped something sinister. I told myself it was just an awkward date, that I had overreacted. But as I turned onto my street, the unease returned like a wave crashing over me. I parked in my driveway and sat for a moment, gathering my thoughts. But then, my phone buzzed, a text from Jake. "You shouldn't have left so soon. You'll regret it." A chill ran down my spine. I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see him lurking in the shadows. But there was nothing, just the empty street, the darkness closing in around me. I hurried inside, locking the door behind me, my heart still racing. I tried to shake off the fear, telling myself it was just a bad date. But deep down, I knew that Jake was more than just an unsettling guy. He had a darkness that felt ancient and hungry, and I had stumbled right into its path. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I glanced at my phone, the screen lighting up again. Another message from Jake. "I'll be seeing you soon." The walls of my room felt like they were closing in, the shadows creeping closer. I realized then, with a growing dread, that my date wasn't just an ordinary encounter. It was a prelude to something far more sinister. I was being hunted, and I didn't even know it yet. The darkness had come for me, and I was trapped in its grasp, unable to escape the chilling reality that awaited me. The twisted game had only just begun, and I was the unsuspecting pawn. I mean, sure, I've had my share of weird dates. Guys who talk too much about their ex. Guys who order for me like I'm a child. One dude who brought his mom. But nothing like him. Nothing even close. His name was Daniel. Profile picture was him hiking somewhere with a dog. Both of them smiling like they knew a secret. Bio said he liked long walks, bad horror movies, and making people laugh. Normal stuff. Safe stuff. That's why I swiped right. That's why I said yes when he asked to meet at that little coffee shop off Elm. The one with the mismatched chairs and the guy who plays sad piano music on a keyboard in the corner. When I walked in, he was already there, wearing a faded band tee and sipping black coffee like he'd been waiting forever. He looked exactly like his pictures, which was a relief. We talked for 2 hours, and it was easy. Like we'd known each other for years. He made me laugh with his dumb story about trying to cook ramen for his little sister and setting off the smoke alarm. I told him about how I used to collect rubber ducks as a kid, and he didn't make fun of me. He just nodded and said, "That's actually kind of awesome." By the time we left, I was already looking forward to the next date. Second date was a drive-in movie. Old school. He picked me up in this beat-up Jeep with a dented fender and a sticker that said, "Honk if you're horny," that I pretended not to notice. We watched some zombie flick with terrible effects and ate greasy fries from a paper bag. He didn't try to touch me, didn't even put his arm around me. Just sat there, laughing at the right moments, asking if I wanted more fries. It felt real. Like actually real. I started thinking maybe this was it. The guy who wasn't secretly weird or emotionally stunted or just using me to fill time. Third date was dinner at his place. He lived in this old apartment building downtown, the kind with creaky floors and windows that don't quite shut all the way. I remember stepping inside and noticing how quiet it was. Not peaceful quiet. More like the building was holding its breath. His apartment smelled like lemons and something else I couldn't place. Something sharp, like metal. He had books stacked everywhere, a guitar leaning against the couch, and a fish tank with one sad-looking goldfish circling the same spot over and over. We ate pasta he made from scratch, and he lit candles, even though it wasn't romantic. Just said he liked how they made the shadows move. That's when I noticed the photos. They were on the bookshelf, tucked behind a row of old paperbacks. 5 or 6 of them, all the same woman. Same dark hair, same smile. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. I picked one up. She was sitting on a park bench, laughing, hand raised like she was waving at the camera. Daniel didn't say anything at first. Then he said, "That's my sister. She lives out west now." I nodded, put the photo back, but something about it stuck in my head. The way her eyes looked directly into the lens, like she was trying to tell me something. After that, things started feeling off. He'd text me at weird hours. Not late, but strange times, like 3:17 p.m. or 9:08 a.m. Always short messages. "Hope you're doing okay." Saw a dog that looked like mine. Nothing threatening. Nothing I could point to and say, "This is why I should be worried." But the timing felt deliberate, like he was checking in, watching. Then came the dreams. I started dreaming about the woman in the photos. Not scary dreams, not at first. Just her standing in my room, staring. Then she started whispering. I couldn't hear the words, but her mouth moved like she was screaming. I'd wake up with my heart pounding, the sheets soaked, and my phone glowing on the nightstand. One time I checked it. A text from Daniel. Sent at 3:16 a.m. You okay? I hadn't replied. I didn't even know how he knew I was awake. I should have stopped seeing him. I know that now. But I kept making excuses. Maybe he's just thoughtful. Maybe I'm overreacting. And God, I wanted to believe he was real. I wanted that normal thing. The one where someone actually sees you and doesn't run. Fourth date was supposed to be mini golf. He canceled last minute. Said his dog wasn't feeling well. I didn't think much of it. But that night, I drove past his building. Not on purpose. I swear. I was coming back from my sister's and took a wrong turn. I saw his Jeep parked out front. And then I saw him. He was standing in the alley beside the building, wearing a long coat even though it wasn't cold. He had something in his hands, dark, wrapped in plastic. He looked around, then tossed it into a dumpster. I didn't mean to watch. I just couldn't look away. He turned, and for a second, I thought he saw me. But he just walked back inside, hands in his pockets, whistling. The next day, I called him. Said I wasn't feeling well. Needed space. He was calm. Too calm. Said he understood. That I should take all the time I needed. Then he said, "You know, I used to date someone who did that. Ghosted me. She's gone now." I hung up. Blocked his number. Changed my profile on the app. Told myself it was over. But it wasn't. 2 days later, I came home and found a package on my doorstep. No return address. Inside was a rubber duck. Yellow. Chip paint on the beak. Just like the one I had as a kid. The one I told him about during our first date. Under it was a note. "You left this at my place." I never left anything at his place. I never even stayed the night. That's when I went back to the photos. I dug through my messages, found the one where he showed me a picture of his dog. In the background, behind the couch, was the bookshelf. And there, barely visible, was one of the photos of the woman. But this time I zoomed in, and I saw it. It wasn't his sister. It was me. Not exactly me, but close. Same hair, same nose, same scar above the eyebrow I got when I fell off my bike at 10. But the eyes were wrong. Darker, and the smile too wide, like it was forced. I stared at it until my vision blurred. I started digging. Searched his name online. Nothing. No social media. No records. Just a single listing for a P.O. box. I drove to his building that night. Didn't go inside. Just watched. His window was dark. Then, around 2 a.m., the light came on. I saw his shadow moving behind the curtain. Then another shadow. Smaller. A woman's shape. But he lived alone. I couldn't stay away. I went to the dumpster in the alley the next morning. Held my breath and looked inside. At the bottom, under old takeout boxes and shredded paper, was a bundle wrapped in black trash bags. I didn't open it. I couldn't. But I saw a corner of something pink. Fabric. A sleeve. I called the police. Told them everything. They checked the apartment. Empty. No furniture. No fish tank. No photos. No Daniel. The super said the unit had been vacant for 8 months. That no one had lived there since a woman named Lila Hart committed suicide in the bathtub. Hanged herself with an extension cord. She had a brother, but he disappeared after the funeral. Never reported. They found the dog 2 days later. Buried in a park. Collar still on. Name tag said Buddy. Same name Daniel told me he had. But here's the thing. Yesterday, I got a letter. No stamp. Just slipped under my door. Inside was a new photo. Me sleeping. Taken from across the room. And on the back, written in neat handwriting. "You look just like her when you dream. I think we're going to be very happy together." I haven't slept since. I keep the lights on. I check the locks every hour. I don't go outside after dark. But last night I heard it. A soft knock at the door. Then a voice. Quiet. Familiar. "Hey, it's me. I brought the duck back." It all started when I downloaded that dating app, the one everyone was raving about. You know the kind, where you swipe right if you're interested and left if you're not. I was skeptical at first, but after a few weeks of swiping, I got a match that seemed too good to be true. Her name was Leah, and her photos were stunning. Long dark hair, a smile that could light up the room, and those deep green eyes that felt like they could see right through you. We chatted for hours, laughing about everything and nothing. I felt an instant connection, like I had known her for ages. We decided to meet up at this little coffee shop tucked away in an alley, far from the busy streets. The place had a cozy vibe, with mismatched furniture and soft, warm lighting. As I walked in, I scanned the room, my heart racing. It was a Friday evening, and the place buzzed with the chatter of other couples and friends. I spotted Leah in the corner, her head bent over her phone, seemingly waiting for me. I approached her table, and as she looked up and smiled, I felt a rush of excitement. She was even more beautiful in person. Our conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and occasional moments of comfortable silence. I couldn't help but notice something slightly off about her. She seemed almost too perfect, as if she had rehearsed every line, every smile. Still, I shrugged it off. I was enjoying myself. As the evening wore on, we moved from coffee to cocktails, and the dim lights seemed to dim even more, casting shadows that danced around us. I felt a sense of intimacy, as if we were the only two people in the world. But then the vibe shifted. I noticed her gaze drifting toward the door every so often, her smile faltering when she caught sight of someone outside. I asked her about it, but she brushed it off, claiming it was just the weirdos that roamed the streets at night. I found myself glancing at the door too, half expecting someone sinister to walk in. It was just my imagination, I told myself. We continued to drink, but I could feel the tension mounting, a thick fog of unease settling between us. After a while, Leah suggested we take a walk. The night air was crisp, and the city felt alive with the distant sounds of laughter and music. We strolled through the streets, and Leah led me to an old park, the kind with overgrown grass and twisted trees that looked like they had stories to tell. As we walked deeper into the park, the streetlights faded, leaving us in near darkness. I could hear the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Leah seemed unfazed, her eyes sparkling as she pointed out the stars. But then, out of nowhere, she suddenly stopped, her expression shifting from playful to serious. She looked around, her body tense. I felt a chill run down my spine. I asked if she was okay, but she ignored me, her gaze fixed on the shadows. I was about to ask what was wrong when a figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette that made my heart race. I felt my breath hitch in my throat. The figure was tall, wearing a dark hoodie that obscured their face. They moved slowly, deliberately, and I could sense the danger radiating off them. Leah's demeanor changed instantly. She grabbed my arm, her grip like a vice, and pulled me back. I tried to ask her what was wrong, but she just whispered for me to follow her. We turned to run, the sound of our feet pounding on the pavement echoing in my ears. I could hear the figure behind us, footsteps quickening as they followed. Panic surged through me, and I looked over my shoulder, but the darkness swallowed everything behind us. Leah was pulling me along, her face determined yet frightened. We stumbled through the park, weaving between trees and benches, the only light coming from the faint glow of the street lamps far ahead. Just when I thought we might lose them, Leah led me toward a small, abandoned building at the edge of the park. We ducked inside, the door creaking ominously as we shut it behind us. The inside was dark, with only faint moonlight filtering through broken windows. Dust motes danced in the air, and I felt a wave of claustrophobia wash over me. Leah was breathing heavily, her eyes wide as she listened for any sign of the figure. I could feel my heart racing, my mind spinning. I wanted to ask her why we were hiding, but I couldn't find the words. Minutes passed like hours. Just when I thought we might be safe, I heard footsteps outside the building. They were slow and deliberate, as if the figure was savoring the moment. Leah's grip on my arm tightened, and I could see the fear in her eyes. I wanted to reassure her, to tell her everything would be okay, but I was just as terrified. The footsteps stopped outside the door, and I could feel the tension in the air, thick like a fog. Without warning, the door creaked open. I held my breath, my heart pounding in my chest. The figure stepped inside, and I braced myself for a confrontation. But to my shock, it was a man in a security uniform, his flashlight illuminating the dust around him. He looked just as startled to see us. "What are you two doing here?" he asked, his voice gruff, but not unkind. Relief washed over me, but Leah didn't budge. She remained frozen, her eyes wide, staring at the man as if he were a ghost. I turned to her, confused, trying to process the moment. But then, something shifted in her expression. It was subtle, but there was a flicker of recognition, or was it fear? The security guard moved closer, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. "You shouldn't be in here. It's not safe." He glanced at Leah, and I could see the realization dawn on his face. "Wait, Leah, is that you?" I felt a knot form in my stomach. Everything I thought I understood was unraveling. Leah's eyes darted toward me, her expression shifting from fear to something more sinister. "You shouldn't have come here," she said, her voice low and calm, as if she were speaking through a fog. Suddenly, I saw the truth. The perfect date, the laughter, the way she had pulled me into the dark. This wasn't just a night of fun. It was a trap. I took a step back, my mind racing as the pieces fell into place. Leah wasn't the innocent girl I had thought she was. She was part of something darker. Before I could turn and run, the guard lunged, grabbing me by the arm. "Don't!" he shouted, but it was too late. I bolted past him, throwing open the door and barreling into the night, adrenaline surging through me. I didn't stop running until I reached the street, my lungs burning with the effort. As I looked back, I saw Leah standing in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the moonlight. She watched me go, a smile creeping across her face that sent chills down my spine. I didn't understand who she was or what she wanted, but one thing was clear. I had escaped a nightmare, and the last thing I saw was her laughing, the darkness swallowing her whole. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who ends up on one of those true crime podcasts. Like, honestly, I've listened to a few, mostly when I can't sleep, and always thought, how does someone just walk into that? Turns out, it's not some dramatic moment. It's not even a warning sign you ignore. It's just normal stuff. A message, a smile, a date that starts like any other. Until it doesn't. Her name was Lila. We matched on Glow Up, one of those apps my buddy swore was different because it made you answer personality questions instead of just swiping left on abs. She had this photo where she's standing in front of a mural, wearing a yellow raincoat, smiling like she knew a secret. Her bio said she liked long walks, horror movies, and making people laugh. I thought, cool, someone normal. We chatted for a week, nothing too deep, just easy jokes, memes about bad coffee, that kind of thing. Then she asked me out. Dinner at this little Italian place downtown, tucked between a laundromat and a used bookstore. Said it had the best garlic knots in the city. I said yes before I even finished reading the message. The night of the date, I got ready like I always do: jeans, clean shirt, deodorant, the whole routine. My roommate asked if I wanted him to track the app or something, and I laughed it off. "Dude, it's not a horror movie," I said. "She's just a girl who likes pasta." That's what I kept telling myself when I walked into the restaurant, and she was already there, sitting in the corner booth, hands wrapped around a glass of red wine. She looked different in person. Not bad different. Just still. Like a painting. Her eyes didn't move much. They just locked on me when I approached. She smiled, stood up, hugged me like we hadn't just been texting for days, but like we'd known each other forever. We ordered. I got the lasagna. She got the mushroom ravioli. We talked about work, about the weather, about how the city felt quieter lately. She said she liked quiet, said she could hear her thoughts better. I didn't think much of it. The food came, and it was good, really good. But halfway through, I noticed something. She wasn't chewing. I mean, she was, but only a few times. Then she'd just hold it in her mouth, like she was savoring it forever. I tried not to stare, but it was hard not to. Her jaw barely moved. Her eyes stayed on me the whole time. After dinner, she suggested a walk. Said there was a park nearby with a little pond, lit up at night with these floating lanterns. I agreed because it sounded nice, and honestly, I didn't want the night to end. She was interesting. Quiet, yeah, but in a way that made you lean in, like she was about to tell you something important. The park was empty. Not even a dog walker or a jogger. Just us and the soft orange glow of the lanterns on the water. We walked in silence for a while. Then she stopped near a bench and turned to me. "Do you ever feel like you're being watched?" she asked. Her voice was calm, like she was asking about the weather. I laughed, but it came out weird, high and nervous. "Only when my mom texts me," I said. She didn't laugh, just stared. Then she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small glass jar. Inside was something dark and lumpy, floating in what looked like oil. "This is from my last boyfriend," she said. "He didn't like quiet." I froze. My brain didn't know how to process that. Was it a joke? A metaphor? I stared at the jar. The thing inside looked familiar. Too familiar. Like a piece of something I'd seen before. Then it hit me. Texture, shape, size. It looked like an ear. I took a step back. My heart was suddenly loud in my chest, like it was trying to punch its way out. She didn't move. Just held the jar up, tilting it so the lantern light caught the liquid inside. "He talked too much," she said. "Always asking questions. Never just listening." I turned and started walking fast, not even pretending it was casual. She didn't follow. Didn't call out. Just stood there, watching me leave, the jar still in her hand. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat on my bed, phone in hand, scrolling through her profile again and again, looking for red flags I'd missed. But there weren't any. No creepy posts, no weird photos, nothing. Just normal stuff. Until I noticed something. Her profile picture. The one in the yellow raincoat in front of the mural. I'd seen that mural before. Not in the city. Not even close. It was in the background of a news story I'd skimmed months ago. A missing person case. A guy named Daniel, last seen near an art district in another state. The mural was part of a memorial. And in the photo, standing just behind him, slightly out of focus, was a girl in a yellow raincoat. I didn't report it. Not then. I just deleted the app, changed my number, told myself I'd just imagined the connection. But then the text started. Not from her number. From random ones. Just photos. A close-up of a sidewalk crack. A parking meter. A shadow under a car. But I recognized them. They were all from near my apartment. Then one came with a note. "You left before dessert." I started checking the locks. Twice. Then 3 times. I unplugged my router at night. Stopped answering the door. A week later, I came home late from work and found a small glass jar on my doorstep. Same kind. Sealed tight. Inside, floating in oil, was a single tooth. My tooth. I knew it because I chipped a corner playing soccer in high school. I didn't scream. Didn't call the police. I just picked it up, went inside, and put it on my kitchen counter. Then I sat there, staring at it, wondering how she'd taken it without me noticing, when it could have happened, if it was real. The next morning, I went to the dentist. Not because of the tooth, because I needed to know if my mouth was intact. The hygienist cleaned me up, took x-rays, said everything looked perfect. No missing teeth. No damage. I almost cried in relief. But when I got home, the jar was gone. Not knocked over. Not broken. Just gone. Like it was never there. That night I heard something. A soft tapping. From inside the walls. Like fingernails on drywall. I followed the sound to my bedroom, tore the baseboard off, and found a small hole. Just big enough for a hand. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was a voice recorder. I played it. It was my voice. Saying things I didn't remember saying. Confessions. Secrets. Stuff about my family, my fears. Things I'd never told anyone. And underneath, barely audible, was her voice, whispering, "Now you're part of the quiet." I threw the recorder in the river the next day. Changed apartments. Changed my name on social media. Tried to forget. But last night, I was brushing my teeth, and when I looked in the mirror, I saw it. A gap. Just one. Between my front teeth. Small but there. And when I ran my tongue over it, the edge felt smooth. Like it had been filed. This morning, there was a postcard on my doormat. No stamp. No return address. Just a photo of that park. The pond. The lanterns. And on the back, in neat handwriting, asterisk, I kept the rest. You'll hear me better now. Asterisk. I had never been the type to meet strangers online. Sure, I had friends who swiped left and right like it was a video game, but I always thought it was risky. Yet, here I was, sitting in my dimly lit room, scrolling through profiles on a dating app. It felt oddly thrilling, like I was peeking into other people's lives. My heart raced a little when I stumbled upon a guy named Alex. His profile was simple but compelling. He liked hiking, horror movies, and had a smile that could light up a room. My gut told me to be cautious, but the thrill of potentially connecting with someone new was too intoxicating to resist. After exchanging a few messages, we decided to meet. He suggested a local coffee shop, a quaint little place tucked away in an alley, surrounded by towering brick buildings. The atmosphere was cozy yet slightly eerie, with dim lights and vintage decor that gave off a retro vibe. As I entered, the bell above the door jingled, and I felt a rush of excitement mixed with anxiety. I spotted him in the corner, casually sipping a latte, his eyes scanning the room. When our eyes met, he waved me over with a warm smile. The conversation flowed easily as we talked about everything from our favorite movies to our childhood memories. I couldn't help but feel drawn to him. He had a way of listening that made me feel important, but there was something off, a subtle tension that lurked beneath the surface. Occasionally, I caught him glancing at the entrance, his demeanor shifting ever so slightly. I shrugged it off, telling myself I was just overthinking it. As the evening wore on, the coffee shop slowly emptied. The barista began wiping down tables, and the soft jazz music seemed to wrap around us like a warm blanket. I noticed how Alex's laughter came a little too easily, each chuckle echoing in the almost empty space. It felt like we were in our own little world, but the shadows in the corners of the room seemed to grow longer, stretching into the night. The barista finally called last orders, and it was clear that we should probably leave. Alex suggested taking a walk around the nearby park, and I hesitated. The sun had dipped below the horizon, and the streetlights flickered ominously. Still, the idea of lingering with him felt too good to pass up. I followed him outside, feeling the cool night air wrap around me like a shroud. The park was eerily quiet, the only sounds being the rustle of leaves and our footsteps crunching on the gravel path. Alex held my hand, and I felt warmth radiate from his touch, but there was an underlying chill that made me uneasy. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow that illuminated the path ahead. Every so often, I'd catch him stealing glances over his shoulder, his brow furrowed as if he were searching for something or someone. As we strolled deeper into the park, the path twisted and turned, leading us into a more secluded area filled with thick trees and shadows. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, but I brushed it off. It was just nerves, right? I had to remind myself that this was a date, a chance to connect with someone special. We found ourselves near a small pond, the water reflecting the moonlight like shattered glass. Alex leaned against a tree, his presence both comforting and unsettling. He seemed to relax, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made me feel exposed. I tried to engage him in conversation, but he seemed distracted, his eyes darting around like he was waiting for something or someone. Suddenly, the rustling of leaves broke the stillness of the night. I turned to see a figure lurking just beyond the tree line. My heart raced as I squinted into the darkness. Was it just my imagination? The figure stepped closer, and I could just make out the silhouette of a woman. She looked disheveled, her hair wild and clothes torn. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I found myself frozen in place, watching as she approached. Alex's demeanor shifted in an instant. He straightened, his smile fading as he turned to face her. I felt a wave of confusion wash over me. Who was she? Why did Alex seem so tense all of a sudden? The woman's eyes locked onto mine, a wild desperation etched across her face. "Help me," she gasped, her voice trembling. "He's coming for me." Before I could process her words, Alex stepped forward, blocking my view of her. I could feel the tension in the air thicken. Something was off, and I could feel a primal fear creeping in. I wanted to run, to get away from both of them, but my feet felt glued to the ground. "Stay back," Alex shouted, and the woman flinched, her eyes darting between us. I could see the fear in her eyes, and in that moment, I realized she was terrified, not of me, but of him. Everything shifted in an instant. The chill that had settled in my bones morphed into a cold wave of dread. I took a step back, my heart pounding against my ribcage. Alex's face twisted into something that resembled anger, but it was tinged with the sickening excitement. "Let's go," he said, his voice low, almost seductive. I didn't want to go anywhere with him. The sense of danger was palpable, and I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. I turned, ready to run, but my foot caught on a root, sending me tumbling to the ground. As I scrambled to my feet, I turned back to find the woman gone, swallowed by the darkness. "Wait!" I called out, but my voice was lost in the night. Alex stepped closer, a predatory gleam in his eyes. "Why are you scared?" he asked, his tone shifting again, sweet and menacing all at once. "I just wanted to have a little fun." I stumbled backward, panic flooding my system. "Fun? Is this your idea of fun?" His expression changed, and I realized this wasn't the guy I had been flirting with over coffee. This was something else, something terrifying. I turned to run, but he lunged, gripping my arm tightly. "Don't you want to see what happens next?" he whispered, and I could smell something rotten on his breath. In that moment, I felt time freeze. Everything, the shadows, the trees, the night, seemed to close in around me. I could see the darkness in his eyes, the truth of who he really was. Panic surged, and with a burst of adrenaline, I broke free from his grasp. I sprinted back the way we had come, my heart pounding in my ears. I didn't stop until I reached the streetlights, the warmth of the city wrapping around me like a safety net. I turned back to look for him, but he had vanished into the depths of the park, leaving nothing but a lingering sense of dread. The woman's desperate face flashed in my mind, and I realized I had narrowly escaped something truly horrifying. I didn't know what had happened to her, or if I'd ever truly understand the intentions of the man I had met that night. All I knew was that sometimes the world hides darkness in the most unexpected places. The thrill of connection can quickly turn into a fight for survival, and I would never look at dating the same way again. Alone. It was one of those evenings where the sky just opens up and dumps water like it's got a personal grudge against the city. I was walking back from the gas station, soaked through my hoodie, cursing myself for forgetting my umbrella, again, when I saw her standing under the flickering awning of the closed-down laundromat. She wasn't doing anything dramatic, just staring at her phone with that soft glow on her face. But something about her made me stop, not in a cheesy movie way, but like my body just decided to freeze on its own. She looked up, smiled, and I swear the rain slowed down. Her name was Claire. She said she was waiting for a ride that never came. We ended up sharing a bench, talking about nothing important, music, bad coffee. How weird it is that pigeons always look like they're judging you. She had this laugh, quiet but real, like she wasn't trying to impress me. We exchanged numbers. I thought that was it. Just a weird, soggy little moment I'd remember when I was old and nostalgic. But then she texted me the next day, and the day after that, and soon we were meeting up almost every evening. Not fancy dates, no dinners, no movies. Just walks through the empty streets after midnight, talking about dreams we'd never tell anyone else. She told me she used to collect dead moths because they looked peaceful. I told her I sometimes pretended I was in a spy movie when I walked past security cameras. She said that made sense. Said I had watchful eyes. The first time I noticed something was off, it was small. We were walking past an alley, and she stopped, just for a second, staring into the dark. I asked what she saw. She blinked like she'd been asleep and said, "Nothing. Just thought I heard a cat." But there was no cat. I checked, and the way she looked at that alley, it wasn't curiosity. It was recognition. Then the dream started. Not mine. Hers. She began telling me about them like they were nothing, but they weren't normal. In one, she was standing in a room with no doors, walls covered in handprints. In another, she was underwater, watching a man in a suit float past her, his eyes open but not seeing. I tried to joke about it, said she should cut back on horror movies. She just looked at me and said, "I don't watch horror movies. I don't like being scared." That's when I noticed she never got scared. Not when a dog barked at us. Not when a car backfired like a gunshot. Nothing startled her. It was like fear didn't exist in her world. I should have backed off, but I didn't. I was too deep. She had this way of making me feel like I was the only person who mattered, like she saw something in me no one else did. And maybe I was flattered. Maybe I was lonely. Either way, I kept showing up. Then came the night. She invited me to her place. It wasn't far, Just a walk down a narrow street lined with old apartment buildings that leaned toward each other like they were whispering secrets. Her unit was on the third floor of a building with peeling paint and a broken buzzer. The hallway smelled like burnt toast and something sour underneath. Her door had 3 locks. I counted. 2 deadbolts and a chain. Inside it was clean. Too clean. Like no one actually lived there. The furniture looked new but untouched. No photos. No books. Just a single lamp in the corner, casting long shadows that didn't move right. She offered me tea. I said yes, mostly to seem normal. She went into the kitchen, and I wandered to the only closed door in the place. I didn't mean to snoop, but the handle was cold, and before I knew it, I was turning it. It wasn't a bedroom. It was a closet, but not the kind with coats or shoes. This one had a cot, a single blanket, and a small mirror on the wall. On the floor in the corner was a pile of clothes, men's clothes, all different sizes, all neatly folded, and on the wall, written in what looked like pencil but wasn't, was a list. Names, dates, some with check marks. I recognized one. It was from 2 months ago, same week I met her. I backed out fast, heart slamming, and shut the door like it was breathing. She came back with 2 mugs. Didn't say anything about the open door. Just handed me tea and sat across from me, legs tucked under her. I tried to act normal, asked about the list of names. She sipped her tea, eyes never leaving mine. "You're the first one who noticed," she said. "Most people don't see it. Or they do, but they pretend they don't." She set her mug down. "You know why I like you, right?" I didn't answer. My throat was dry. "Because you pay attention," she said. "You notice things. Like the way a shadow moves, or how someone's voice changes when they're lying. You're like me." I wanted to stand up, run, but my body wouldn't listen. It was like the air in the room had thickened, pressing down on me. She leaned forward. "I don't hurt them," she said. "Not really. I just keep them. They're safer with me. Hidden. No one misses them. No one looks." I thought of the clothes, the names, the dates with check marks. "I don't want to keep you," she said, almost gentle. "I want you to stay." That's when I noticed the basement door. It was behind the couch, almost invisible, but the frame was scratched, deep, like something had tried to get out. She stood up, walked to the kitchen, and came back with a small white pill. "It'll help you relax," she said. "You've been so tense lately." I looked at the pill, then at her. Her face was calm. No anger. No threat, just patience, like she'd done this 100 times and knew exactly how it would end. I didn't take the pill. I stood up instead, said I had to go, that I forgot I had work early. She didn't argue, just nodded, walked me to the door, and kissed my cheek. Her lips were cold. I didn't run. I walked, fast but not running. I didn't look back until I hit the street. Her window was dark. No movement, no silhouette. Just black. I thought I was safe. I went home, locked my door, sat in the dark for an hour, just listening. Nothing. No footsteps. No knocks. I finally slept. I woke up to the smell of tea. She was in my kitchen, wearing my robe, smiling. "You left your key under the mat," she said. "I knew you'd come back. You always do." I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just stared, because in that moment, I realized something worse than her being in my house. I remember hiding the key. I remembered locking the door. I remembered checking it twice. But I didn't remember coming home. And when I looked in the mirror later, I saw it. The faint pencil mark behind my ear. A name. My name. And a date. Yesterday. It was one of those apps everyone downloads after too many lonely Friday nights. Promising connections, but usually delivering awkward small talk and thirst traps. Hers was different. Her name was Lila, and her photos weren't staged or filtered to death. Just candid shots. Her laughing in the rain, barefoot on a dock at sunset, reading under a tree with messy hair and no makeup. She looked real, like someone who'd actually want to talk about something other than their job or gym routine. We matched at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. I didn't expect a reply, But by morning, she'd messaged first. Not some lazy hey either. She asked about the book I mentioned in my bio, something obscure I'd read in college and hadn't thought about in years. We ended up talking for hours, switching from books to music, then childhood memories, then fears. She said she was afraid of silence. Not the quiet itself, but what might be hiding in it. That stuck with me. It sounded poetic, but also kind of sad. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to be the one to fill her silence. Our first date was at a little coffee shop downtown, tucked between a dry cleaner and a used bookstore. It had mismatched chairs, chalkboard menus, and the kind of lighting that made everyone look softer, kinder. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window with a book in her lap. She looked up and smiled, and it was like the room got warmer. We talked like we'd known each other for years. No awkward pauses, no forced topics. It felt natural, like breathing. After coffee, we walked through the park. The leaves were just starting to turn, that golden orange haze that makes everything feel like a movie. She held my hand, and it wasn't staged or performative, just simple, real. When she kissed me goodbye at her car, it was soft, quick, like she was testing something. I remember thinking, this is it. This is how it's supposed to feel. We started seeing each other almost every day. Not in a clingy way, but like we kept finding reasons to be near each other. She'd text me a photo of a weird cloud, or send a song she thought I'd like. I'd bring her coffee on my way home from work. It felt easy. Too easy, maybe. But I didn't care. I was happy. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't overthinking everything. Then the dreams started. At first, they were just odd. I'd wake up with the taste of copper in my mouth, or the sensation of someone whispering my name from the corner of the room. Then they got worse. I'd dream about her, but not the her I knew. This version of Lila was pale, her eyes too wide, her mouth moving without sound. She'd stand at the foot of my bed, just watching. I'd try to speak, but my throat would close up. Every time I woke, my sheets were damp, and the air in my room felt thick, like I'd been holding my breath. I didn't tell her. Didn't want to scare her off. Maybe I was just stressed. Work had been hectic. But then I started noticing things during the day. Little things. Like how she never answered when I asked about her family. Or how she always parked on the street instead of using her garage. Once, I caught her staring at me while I was talking, her expression blank, like she was seeing someone else. When I asked what was wrong, she blinked and smiled and said she was just lost in thought. One night, we were at her place watching a movie. It was late, raining outside, the kind of storm that makes the windows rattle. I went to the bathroom and noticed the mirror was covered with a towel. Weird, but okay. I pulled it off, thinking it was just laundry, and froze. The mirror was cracked, the glass webbed with fractures, but it wasn't broken. It was like someone had pressed something hard against it from the other side. I ran my fingers over it, and for a second, I thought I saw movement behind the glass. Not a reflection. Something else. I threw the towel back up and didn't say a word. The next day, I drove past her apartment building during lunch, just to see her car. I told myself it was stupid, but I needed to know she was okay. Her car was there, parked in the usual spot, but the garage door was open, and I saw something that made my stomach drop. Inside, the walls were covered in photos. Hundreds of them. All of me. Me walking to work. Me at the gym. Me getting coffee. Me sleeping. Taken through my bedroom window. Some were old, from years ago. Some were recent. All of them arranged in perfect rows, like a timeline. I stood there, frozen, rain soaking through my jacket. My breath came fast. This wasn't love. This was obsession. I wanted to run, to call the cops, to scream. But I couldn't move. Then I saw her. She was standing in the doorway, watching me. Not surprised. Not angry. Just calm. Like she'd been waiting. I drove home in a daze. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I packed a bag, ready to leave, to go to a hotel, to disappear. But then my phone buzzed. A message from her. Just one word, remember? I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and locked the door. Sat in the dark, listening to the rain. Hours passed. Then a sound. A soft tap at the window. I didn't look. I knew it was her. I stayed still, pretending to sleep. The tapping stopped. Silence. Then slowly, the bedroom door creaked open. I kept my eyes shut, heart pounding so loud I was sure she could hear it. Footsteps. Light, careful. The mattress dipped as she sat on the edge of the bed. I felt her hand brush my hair, gentle, like a mother. Then her voice, barely a whisper. You were the only one who ever listened. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I tried with the others, she said. But they never stayed. They never understood. But you felt it too. The silence. The emptiness. I thought you'd fix it. Her hand slid down to my cheek. Cold. I just wanted to be seen, she whispered. Really seen. Then nothing. The weight lifted. The door closed. I waited 10 minutes before opening my eyes. The room was empty. I checked the locks. Still bolted. The window closed. No sign she'd been there. But on my nightstand, next to my phone, was a Polaroid. Me asleep. Taken that night. And written on the bottom in red ink, still here. I deleted the app the next day. Changed my number. Told everyone I was moving for work. I left the city. Started over in a town where no one knew my name. For months, I looked over my shoulder. Jumped at noises. Slept with the lights on. Then, last week, I got a letter. No return address. Just a single photo inside. Me, walking into my new apartment. And on the back, 2 words, found you. I burned it. Threw the ashes in the river. But sometimes, when the house is quiet, I hear it. A soft tap at the window. And I know she's not after me. She's after the silence. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who'd swipe right on someone just because they had a dog in their profile. But there she was, Emily, smiling like she knew a secret, one hand resting on the head of a big, sleepy-looking husky. Her bio was short. Loves long walks, bad horror movies, and people who don't ghost. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I just ghosted someone 3 days ago and suddenly felt guilty. So I swiped right. Match. We started talking that night. She was easy to talk to. Made jokes that didn't feel forced, and actually responded instead of leaving me on read for hours. Within a week, we were texting every day, sometimes late into the night. She said she worked from home, editing photos for travel blogs. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She sent me a few samples once. Mountains at sunrise, tropical beaches, things that looked too perfect to be real. I didn't think much of it. We decided to meet at this little coffee shop downtown, the kind with mismatched chairs and fairy lights strung across the ceiling. I got there early, ordered a black coffee, and tried not to look like I was sweating through my shirt. When she walked in, she looked exactly like her pictures, maybe even better. Her hair was darker in person, and she had this habit of tucking it behind her ear when she smiled. The husky wasn't with her. She said she left him with her neighbor, but she talked about him the whole time like he was part of the conversation. His name was Odin. She named him after the one-eyed god because he had one blue eye and one brown. That detail stuck with me. I don't know why. We ended up staying for 2 hours, then walked around the park nearby. She liked the way the trees looked at dusk, how the shadows stretched across the path like fingers. I remember thinking how poetic that was, but also kind of creepy. She noticed me glancing at my phone. "You always this distracted?" she asked. I said no, that I was just waiting to hear back from my boss about a project. She nodded like she believed me, but her eyes didn't. There was something in the way she watched me, like she was studying the way I moved, the way I held my hands, where I looked when I lied. It wasn't hostile. It was worse. It was curious. We made plans to hang out again the next weekend, this time at her place. She lived in an old apartment building on the edge of town, the kind that used to be a hotel back in the 1920s. The elevator didn't work, so we took the stairs. Her unit was on the 3rd floor, number 314. The door had a weird stain near the bottom, like something had leaked from under it a long time ago and never fully cleaned. I didn't say anything. She opened the door and let me in. The place smelled like lavender and something else, something faint, like old books or damp wood. Odin was there, lying on a thick rug in front of the couch. He didn't bark, just lifted his head, stared at me with those mismatched eyes, then went back to sleep. We ordered pizza. Watched one of those cheesy zombie movies she said she loved. I laughed at the bad effects. She didn't. She just watched, completely still, like she was memorizing every frame. At one point, she paused it. "Do you ever feel like you're being watched?" she asked. I said no, not really. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Sometimes I do," she said, "even when I'm alone. Like someone's just standing in the corner, not doing anything, just watching." I laughed it off, but my skin felt tight. Later, when I went to use the bathroom, I noticed something strange. The mirror was fogged, even though the shower hadn't been used. And on the glass, someone had written a single word with their finger. "Run." I stared at it. My heart kicked up. I wiped it away fast, like if I pretended it wasn't there. It never happened. When I got back, Emily was still on the couch, petting Odin. She didn't look at me. "Everything okay?" she asked. I said, "Yeah, fine." But I wasn't fine. That word kept playing in my head. We went to bed around midnight. She offered me the couch, but I insisted on the floor. I didn't want to sleep in her room. I don't know why. I just didn't. I lay there for hours, listening to the creaks of the old building, the soft breathing of the dog, the occasional rustle from her room. Then, around 2 a.m., I heard it, a whisper. Not from her room, from behind the wall, like someone was talking through the vents. I sat up slowly. Odin was awake now, ears flat, staring at the same spot on the wall. The whisper got louder. It wasn't words, just sounds. Guttural. Wet. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight. The beam hit the wall, and for a second I saw it, a shadow, too tall, too thin, moving behind the plaster. Then it was gone. I didn't sleep after that. I just lay there, eyes open, heart pounding. Morning came slow. Emily acted normal. Made coffee. Asked if I slept well. I said I did. She didn't press. We talked about nothing important. When I left, she kissed me on the cheek and said, "See you soon." I nodded, but I didn't want to. Not after what I'd seen. I didn't text her. Didn't answer when she messaged me. A week passed. Then 2. I thought it was over. Then, last night, I came home late. My apartment was dark. I flipped the switch. Nothing. Power was out. I grabbed my phone for light, and that's when I saw it. My laptop was open. I didn't leave it like that. And on the screen, a single image. A photo of me, asleep on her couch, taken from the corner of the room. The timestamp said 2:17 a.m., the same time I saw the shadow. I shut it fast. My hands were shaking. I checked the locks. All secure. Then I heard it, a soft thud from the bedroom. I crept down the hall, phone light cutting through the dark. The door was slightly open. I pushed it, and there on my bed was Odin, sleeping, like he belonged there, like he'd been here all along. I backed up, grabbed my keys, ran downstairs. I drove to a motel, checked in under a fake name, spent the night in the bathtub with the lights on. This morning, I came back to get clothes, important stuff. The apartment was empty. No dog. No signs of anyone being there. I packed fast. As I was leaving, I noticed something under the couch. A photo. Me again. This time at the coffee shop, the day I first met her. I was looking at my phone. She was staring at me. And in the reflection of the window behind us, there was another figure. Tall. Thin. Standing right behind my chair. I never felt it. Never saw it. I took the photo, threw it in the trash outside, got in my car. As I pulled away, my phone buzzed. A new message. From Emily. Just 2 words. Found you. I threw the phone in the back seat. Drove faster. Checked the rear view. Nothing. Then, in the corner of the glass, I saw it. A reflection that wasn't mine. A face. Pale. Smiling. Sitting in the back. I didn't scream. I just kept driving. Because I knew, deep down, it wasn't about Emily. Or Odin. Or even the apartment. It was about the thing that followed her. The thing that watches. The thing that waits. And now it's with me. Not because I dated her, but because she let it. Her name was Maya, and her profile picture showed her laughing on a beach. Sun hitting her face, just right. hair blowing like one of those shampoo commercials. She had this smile that made you feel like you already knew her. Her bio said she loved horror movies, coffee, and long walks that don't end in serial killer cabins. I laughed. Swiped right. Match. We started texting that same night, and it felt easy, like we'd been talking for years. She asked about my job, my favorite pizza topping, pineapple always, and if I believed in ghosts. I said only in movies. She said she'd seen one once, in her grandma's house, but didn't want to talk about it. That's when I should have stopped. But I didn't. I wanted to know more. A week in, we decided to meet. She picked a place, a little cafe downtown called the Roasted Bean. Said it was quiet, had good lighting, and wasn't one of those loud spots where you have to scream to be heard. I got there early, like I always do, and sat by the window, ordered a black coffee, watched people pass by. 10 minutes before she was supposed to show, the lights flickered. Not like a power surge, more like someone was messing with the dimmer switch. I looked around. Nobody else seemed to notice. The barista kept wiping the counter, calm as ever. I shrugged it off. Probably old wiring. Then she walked in. Maya looked exactly like her pictures, except smaller, like she took up less space than I expected. She wore a gray sweater that hung too loose on her frame, and her eyes were darker than I thought. Not in color, but in expression, like they were tired of seeing things. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. We hugged, awkward, quick, and she sat across from me. Her hands were pale, fingers long and bony. She didn't order anything. Said she wasn't hungry, just wanted to talk. And talk we did. She told me about her job at a vet clinic, her 2 cats, how she hated thunderstorms because they reminded her of her childhood. She spoke softly, like she was afraid someone would overhear. I found myself leaning in, trying to catch every word. There was something about her voice, low, steady, like a whisper that never ends. After an hour, she said she had to go. Her ride was waiting. I didn't see a car outside, but I didn't ask. I just nodded, said I'd text her later. We kept seeing each other. Not every day, but enough that I started thinking about her when I wasn't with her. She always picked the spots. This one park bench near the river, a used bookstore with no name, once even an empty parking garage at midnight. Said she liked places where no one went. I should have questioned that, but I didn't. I liked being with her. She made me feel seen, like she knew things about me I hadn't even told her. Then the dream started. Same one every night. I'm walking through a house I've never been in. Dark wood floors, old wallpaper peeling at the corners. There's a hallway that stretches too long, and at the end, a door slightly open. I can hear someone humming. A woman's voice. Soft sad. I walk toward it, but the hallway never ends. And then I wake up, heart pounding, sheets soaked. I never told Maya about the dreams. But one night, out of nowhere, she said, "You've been dreaming about the house, haven't you?" I froze. What house? The one with the red door. I didn't say anything, because in the dream, the door wasn't red. It was white, but I didn't correct her. I just nodded. She smiled like she'd won something. Things got weirder after that. I'd find things moved in my apartment when I got home. My keys weren't where I left them. My laptop was open to a browser tab, showing an old photo of a house I didn't recognize. I didn't search for it. I closed it fast. But later, I looked it up. It was a real place, abandoned on the edge of town. Built in the 1920s. Burned down in the 70s. No one lived there since. At least, that's what the article said. I showed Maya the picture. She stared at it for a long time, then said, "That's where she died." Who died? The woman who lived there. Her name was Lila. She used to sing to herself while cleaning. That's what the neighbors said. I didn't ask how she knew. I didn't want to, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The house, the dream, the humming. I started driving past the ruins on my way home, just to see. It was worse in person. Charred beams sticking up like bones, weeds growing through the foundation. One night, I stopped the car and walked in. The air was thick, like breathing through a wet cloth. I stepped over broken glass and found myself in what used to be a living room. And there, on the floor, half buried in ash, was a small music box. I picked it up. It was cold. I opened it. Inside, a tiny ballerina spun slowly, playing a tune I'd never heard but somehow knew. It was the same melody from my dream. I took it home. That night, the humming didn't come from the dream. It came from my living room. I got up, heart in my throat, and followed the sound. The music box was on the coffee table, lid open, spinning on its own. And standing in the corner, facing the wall, was a woman. Long dress, hair down to her waist. She was humming. The same tune. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. After a minute, she stopped, turned slowly. Her face was burned, skin blackened, eyes hollow. But she was smiling. Then she whispered, "You brought it back." I passed out. When I woke up, the music box was gone. My phone was blinking. A message from Maya. "I'm sorry. I didn't think it would happen so fast." I called her. No answer. Texted. Nothing. I drove to her apartment. The door was unlocked. Inside it was empty. No furniture. No photos. Just four walls and a single light bulb swinging from the ceiling. On the floor, written in what looked like ash, was a name, Lila. I left. Drove home. Locked every door. Checked every room. Sat on the couch, shaking, wondering if I was losing it. Then my phone buzzed. Another message from Maya. This time with a photo. It was me, asleep on the couch. Taken minutes ago. I jumped up, looked around. Nothing. Then the phone buzzed again. "You're not safe," it said. "She knows you have it." I didn't reply. I couldn't. I threw the phone across the room. Sat in the dark. Listened. Waited. Hours passed. Nothing. I finally stood, walked to the bedroom, got into bed, pulled the covers up, closed my eyes. And then I felt it. A weight on the edge of the mattress. Slow. Deliberate. Like someone was sitting down. I didn't move. Didn't open my eyes. The humming started again. Soft at first. Then louder. Right beside my ear. I stayed still. Pretended to sleep. The weight shifted. Moved closer. Then a hand, cold, dry, slid under the blanket and took mine. I didn't pull away. Because I knew. If I did, she'd know I was awake. And if she knew I was awake, she might not stop. So I lay there, breathing slow, heart hammering. Her fingers wrapped around mine tight. The humming filled the room. The bed creaked as she leaned in. And then, just before I thought I'd scream, the hand let go. The weight lifted. The humming faded. I waited 10 minutes. Then 20. Finally, I opened my eyes. The room was empty. I got up. Checked the house. Nothing. Went back to bed. Didn't sleep. Morning came. I found my phone. Checked it. No new messages. No missed calls. But the photo was still there. Me asleep. Taken from the foot of the bed. I deleted it. Went to work like nothing happened. That night, I came home. Lights off. Felt the air still. Quiet. I walked to the bedroom. And there it was. On the nightstand. The music box. Lid closed. I stared at it. Didn't touch it. Then, slowly, it opened on its own. The ballerina began to spin. The tune started. And from the corner of the room, a voice, soft, broken, whispered, "Thank you for bringing me back." I didn't run. I didn't scream. I just sat on the edge of the bed and waited, because I knew she wasn't done. And I knew, deep down, I'd never be alone again. Hinga. It's supposed to be for people who actually want relationships, not just hookups or whatever. That's what I told myself when I downloaded it after my last breakup. I was tired of being alone, tired of coming home to an empty apartment and microwave dinners. So I set up a profile, picked some decent photos, wrote a few witty lines, and started swiping. Most of the matches were boring. Guys who said hey, and then ghosted, or asked for nudes in the first 3 messages. But then I got a match with someone named Daniel. His profile was simple, clean pictures, no gym selfies, no sunglasses indoors. He had this quiet smile, like he knew something you didn't. His bio said he liked long walks, old books, and rainy nights. Corny, sure, but it felt real. We started talking, and it was easy. Like we'd known each other for years. He remembered little things I mentioned, asked thoughtful questions, didn't try to impress me. After a week of texting, he asked if I wanted to meet up. I said yes. I don't know why. Something about him just felt safe. We agreed to meet at this little coffee shop downtown, the kind with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls. I got there early, nervous, fidgeting with my phone. When he walked in, I recognized him from his photos, but in person he was different, calmer. His eyes were dark, almost too still, like they didn't reflect light the way normal eyes do. But he smiled, ordered me a lavender latte, exactly what I'd mentioned liking, and sat across from me. We talked for 2 hours. About books, music, the weird dreams we used to have as kids. He told me he lived alone in an old apartment building near the river, one of those pre-war ones with high ceilings and creaky floors. Said it was quiet, peaceful. I believed him. He had this way of speaking, slow and deliberate, like every word was chosen weeks in advance. I left that day feeling lighter, like I'd finally found someone who got me. We started seeing each other more. Not every day, but often enough. He'd text me little things. Saw a dog wearing socks today. Thought of you. And I'd laugh. Save the messages. He never pushed for anything physical. No pressure, no weird vibes. Just coffee, walks, quiet dinners at his place. His apartment was exactly how he described. Old, dimly lit, filled with books and the smell of sandalwood. There was a piano in the corner, covered in dust. He said he used to play, but stopped years ago. I believed everything he said. I wanted to. Then the dreams started. At first, they were just odd. I'd dream about his apartment, but different, longer hallways, rooms I'd never seen, doors that led nowhere. I'd wake up with my heart pounding, convinced I'd heard music from that piano. But when I'd text him in the morning, he'd reply with something sweet, and I'd forget about it. Until one night, I dreamed I was standing in his bedroom. He was asleep, but I wasn't. I walked to his closet, opened it, and found a shelf full of notebooks. I picked one up. The pages were filled with handwriting, my thoughts, word for word, things I'd never told anyone. My fear of drowning, the time I stole a pack of gum when I was 10, how I cried for 3 days after my dog died. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. I didn't tell him. I couldn't. But the dreams kept coming. Every night, I'd end up in his apartment, exploring rooms that didn't exist. I'd find more notebooks, each one filled with my secrets, my fears, things I'd only whispered to myself in the dark. And always, in the background, the faint sound of piano music. Slow, mournful, like someone playing with one hand, missing the notes on purpose. I started noticing things when I was awake. Little things. Like how he never answered when I asked about his family, or how his phone never rang, never buzzed, how he always seemed to know what I was thinking before I said it. Once, I mentioned I was craving cherry pie, and when we met the next day, he had a slice waiting. I asked how he knew. He just smiled and said, "Lucky guess." Then came the night I decided to stay over. It was raining, heavy, the kind that turned streets into mirrors. He offered to let me crash on the couch. I said yes. He gave me an old t-shirt to sleep in, one that smelled like him, sandalwood and something else, something sharp, like metal. I lay there, listening to the rain, trying to ignore the piano music I could almost hear. Then I saw it, a flicker in the hallway, a shadow moving past the bathroom door. I sat up. The apartment was dark, but I could see the outline of someone standing at the end of the hall. I called out. No answer. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight. The hallway was empty, but the closet door in his bedroom was open. I got up, walked quietly, peeked inside. The shelf was there. The notebooks, all of them labeled with my name, dates, thoughts I'd had that very day. One was open. It read, asterisk, she's starting to suspect. That's okay. She'll understand soon, asterisk. My breath stopped. I backed away, heart slamming against my ribs. That's when I heard it, real this time. Piano music, coming from the living room. Slow, off-key, like someone learning to play. I followed the sound. Daniel was sitting at the piano, his back to me, hands moving over the keys. But his fingers, they weren't pressing the keys. They were just hovering, and the music kept playing. I froze. The room felt colder. The walls looked wrong, like they were breathing. I turned to run, but the front door was gone. Just a blank wall where it used to be. I spun around. The piano had moved. It was closer now. Daniel hadn't turned. The music got louder. The notes twisted, formed a melody I recognized. My mom's lullaby. The one she used to sing when I was little. The one I never told him about. That's when I saw the other pianos. Behind him, in the corner, there was another one. And another. And another. Dozens of them, crammed into the room, all playing the same broken tune. And in front of each, a figure. Sitting. Motionless. All of them facing away. All of them wearing my face. I don't know how I got out. I remember screaming, running toward the window, smashing it with my elbow, jumping. I landed hard, rolled, felt glass tear through my jeans. I ran until my lungs burned, until the city lights blurred into streaks. I didn't stop until I was home, locked in my bathroom, sobbing into a towel. I deleted Hinge the next day, changed my number, avoided the coffee shop, tried to pretend it never happened. But sometimes, late at night, I hear it, faint, through the walls. Piano music, slow, mournful. And when I press my ear to the wall, I swear I can hear pages turning,